Now, over the past 24 hours, the number of confirmed cases of the deadly coronavirus in Australia has risen, with Queensland health authorities confirming the state's first case. A 44-year-old Chinese national is currently in isolation at the Gold Coast University Hospital. A second case has also been confirmed in Victoria. That brings the national total to 7, 4 of course in New South Wales. Chinese authorities now say the virus has infected nearly 8,000 people and killed 170. That total in mainland China has surpassed those infected with SARS in 2002. Airlines around the world have also suspended and cut back services to parts of mainland China. Joining me now live from Beijing for the latest is James T. Areddy, who's the China correspondent for the Wall Street Journal. James, thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
I'd like to start with the decision by the British, the US and European airlines to drastically cut back or cut off travel to China. That new Beijing airport you've got there would look rather bare about now, wouldn't it?
Well, I think the travel is quite down all over China, whether you're talking about the local streets or whether you're talking about the airports or the train stations. During some days of the Chinese New Year, travel was down 40% from the year earlier. This should be a very, very busy period. I'm in Shanghai, actually, not in Beijing, but in many cities in China, it is very dead out there. People are just not moving around. They're sort of self quarantining. And that has devastating effects on all these businesses. And you're seeing many, many businesses, foreign and domestic Chinese, cutting back. And that's what you're talking about with the airlines.
OK, would the Chinese government be happy with these self-instigated evacuation operations by the likes of the US and Australia?
Well, as we reported the other day about the U.S. plane, which was the first one of these evacuations, a number of other governments have tried to organize ways of getting their citizens out. This was negotiated over some period of time with the Chinese Foreign Ministry. So they were certainly on board with it. It wasn't as if this swooped in and picked up Americans and flew out. This was a procedure. They had normal airport procedures, security, and in fact added a health check at the end. The airport was open, but only to them. It was a very, very unusual situation. It sounds like a number of other governments are also organizing these kinds of things. So, is this the kind of thing that the Chinese government is happy to see? Well, it's certainly not good for the image, but I think they can probably understand what's going on, and they probably are. I've heard that they are not dissatisfied to see a lot of angry foreigners, scared foreigners leave.
Okay.
Because that's a risk.
Yeah. Okay. Two questions about Wuhan. An Australian in Wuhan has told me earlier this week that many of the people who have died were the frail and the elderly. It wasn't cross the demographics. Is that right, or has he got it wrong? And secondly, how long then can they be cooped up in their homes without getting food and water?
The science is not really my forte, but my understanding is that this is not as deadly as, for instance, the SARS virus, which did affect all age groups. While all age groups are getting sick with this, and it does seem to spread very, very rapidly, maybe even more than SARS, it does not seem to be as deadly for the greater, the bigger number of the population, the way SARS was. And it did seem to cut across the elderly or frail a little bit more than past ones like SARS.
Well, that's a consolation.
In terms of the logistics we continue to hear. I've talked to a number of people in Wuhan in recent days. They say that the stores generally do have food, but as we started off this discussion with, the transportation is way down, and that's local, that's international. So there are going to be all of these kind of issues of supply.
And in terms of Shanghai, on the streets, people wearing masks, are they fearful of what may happen?
Oh, everyone is wearing masks, and most people are just staying home.
Right. Locking themselves up from contracting the virus.
Right. That's right. And many people have They're just going out as quickly as they can and coming back with their food or whatever it is that they need. No one's lingering.
Okay.
No one's going out and entertaining themselves.
Wow. Charles, thank you very much for that insight. We appreciate your time.